Hello and welcome to the history of Stargate Atlantis. Today's episode we're going to be covering Dr. Radek Zelenka. And this is part 1. And here we go. Radek Zelenka is a scientist from the Czech Republic and a member of the Atlantis expedition who is assigned to the science department and also presumably second in command under Chief Science Officer Dr. Rodney McKay. However, he did claim to be the head of his own department. Both Zelenka and McKay having often performed miracles with ancient technology. Also, in times when McKay is incapacitated, Zelenka will automatically become temporary Chief Science Officer. And at other times he appears to function as Rodney's second in command in the science contingent. After McKay's capture and transformation into a wraith, Zelenka takes up his post and is given it permanently by Richard Woolsey, even after McKay returns, because of the danger associated with McKay's former status as a wraith. He is also briefly the acting commander of Atlantis when Woolsey and Shepard are off duty, but informally defers to Samantha Carter, who is in the city as the commander of the George Hammond. Radek grew up with a poor family back in his home country, where he had a brother and a sister. When he was only a year old, Russia occupied Prague, where his family lived. His family chose to leave and they hid in abandoned factories and plants. His father, who worked in a nuclear plant, tried to take one of its trucks so they could escape to Austria. While getting fuel for the truck, the Russians came to arrest him. However, a Lithuanian lieutenant let them go. When he was young, his brother burned down his home with one of the lit candles, forcing his family to live in a tent during the cold Czech winter until the house was rebuilt. After growing up, his sister had a son who, as Radek pointed out, brings things and smears things on furniture. He also raised racing pigeons. He became a gifted scientist and was once offered a job at a university. However, when he was offered the chance to join the Atlantis expedition, he turned down the offer at the university and joined a team going to the Pegasus Galaxy, where he was to work under Rodney McKay. He may also have had a wife. Zelenka took part in the Velvet Revolution when he was 23. The Velvet Revolution, or the Gentle Revolution, was a non-violent transition of power in what was then Czechoslovakia, occurring from the 17th of November to December 29th, 1989. Zelenka heard rumors about the Stargate for years before actually passing through it, but dismissed the rumors. After completing his doctorate at Cambridge University, Zelenka took a temporary job at the Louvre in Paris, where he went through the artifacts stored in the basement for an old professor of his who was doing a tour exhibition on the history of science, with Zelenka searching for anything useful for the expedition. Zelenka enjoyed the job greatly and eventually found a sketch of the Alpha Gates DHD made by Vivant Denon of Napoleon's Egyptian expedition, where he found the temples of Philae. Recognizing that the device had a keyboard, Zelenka's interest was drawn, and he spent months looking into it, finally finding a wild paper written by Dr. Daniel Jackson theorizing that aliens built the Egyptian pyramids, which was presented by Jackson in an ill-fated conference. Jackson's paper contained a reference to the device Denon found and the line in his journals, but not the sketch, which had made Zelenka wonder if Jackson knew about it. Zelenka contacted Jackson, who went with him to study the sketch. Jackson was excited by the visual proof of the fate of the Giza DHD and introduced Zelenka to the secret of the Stargate. 2004. One of his first major duties was to help Major John Shepard, Dr. Rodney McKay, Taylor Emigan, Lieutenant Aidan Ford, Sergeant Markham, and Sergeant Stackhouse when their puddle jumper was damaged, and one of their drive pods didn't fully retract, which made them stuck halfway through the Stargate. He went to work in another puddle jumper to try to isolate the control panels of the engine so McKay could retract the damaged pod. Zelenka managed to find a way to increase the odds of McKay's success from a 1 in a million chance to a 1 in 1,000. After this, he proceeded to work closely with Dr. Rodney McKay on several occasions, including discovering a command sequence in the puddle jumper which would open the roof of the jumper bay. A few months later, he was working on a way to protect Atlantis from a massive storm that strikes Lantia every 20 to 30 years, and it was heading its way to the city. He and Dr. Rodney McKay figured out that the storm's lightning could be used to power the Atlantis shield, but Zelenka left for Manara, leaving McKay, Dr. Elizabeth Weir, and Major John Shepard to implement the plan before the city was taken by a Chennai strikes team. 2005. He was inspecting the storm-damaged parts of the city, and was in the same group with Dr. Rodney McKay, Dr. Hayes, and Aidan Ford. He was infected with the ancient nanovirus, and did not have the ancient technology activation gene, and the ancient technology activation gene therapy didn't work for him, since only 47 to 48 of the recipients actually received the gene successfully. The nanites were rendered inert when Major John Shepard overloaded an Quadria generator over the city. While working on what he believed to be a piece of malfunctioning technology in Stargate operations, he inadvertently discovered Atlantis' long-range sensors. He detected 3 Wraith Hive ships that were making their way to the city, as well as a Wraith Dart that was entering the system. Have a great day! Bye-bye!